So the funny thing about today is that it's almost a year to the day since we had the major floods in March of 2012, and so I guess in some respects we're having another major event, but it's probably a lot more controlled and more expected than the one we had last year. So, and it's one we welcome too, I guess, because we finally start to see the new dam wall doing what it's designed to do. So I'm basically got my back to the wet side of the wall and I'm facing downstream. We're basically on top of what we call the secondary crest, I guess, so it's a step up from the primary spillway. So the dam wall basically has a profile that sort of does that, and we are there. We're pretty much at the top of the dam wall. We're just going through with some structural concrete capping works at the moment. And all that work that's left to do is really in aid of making sure that if we ever do have a flooding event, that the water flows very smoothly over the top of the wall with minimal turbulence and of course with less impact on the river downstream. So pretty much all the work that's being done at the moment is to make a smoother flow over the top of the wall. So across the primary spillway here, just over my right shoulder, we've put up basically a logo that we've come up for this year for Safe Start on the side, and basically what we're safeguarding against is because we're getting so close to the end of the project now, there is a risk that people might start to get complacent or familiar with the site. So we're trying to basically promote that message out there that guys, before you do anything, before you start anything, stop and think about what you're doing and make sure it's safe, and don't get, I guess, distracted by the fact that the finish line is so close. It was only last Friday we actually plugged the diversion on the new dam wall, which was effectively allowing any water that came over the old dam wall to pass beneath the new dam wall as we built it and kept us dry. Now that we've plugged that dam wall and given this weather, we can start to see for the first time the fruits of our labour, I guess, after such a long time, that the dam wall is actually starting to capture some water. And the exciting thing, I guess, is you know, if you see these trickles coming down on the abutments, all this water coming down off the abutments and coming over the top of the old dam wall is not being lost, it's all being stored. These markers are typically at 2 metre intervals. When we first arrived on this scaffold platform, you could actually see the number 490, which refers to metres above sea level, which is how we measure things on site. And now it's actually underwater. So, and that's only been in the last 10 minutes or so. It was only yesterday actually that this space here, about half the size of the lake, was a dry space, which we used for accessing the upstream side of the diversion pipe to plug it. And now you can see that that space has filled up quite rapidly. We've had some significant rainfall overnight, and the inflows continue up at Vanity's Crossing around the 700 megalitres per day flow rate. So you can see it's filling up quite rapidly, and we're sort of in a position now where we think there might be maybe a day or 2 days left in it before we say bye-bye to the dam wall. So it's a bit eerie at the moment because she's going under with not many people around to comfort her, given that it's a wet day and we're not doing too much construction work. But nonetheless, it's a milestone moment for us. Not particularly a sentimental kind of guy, but particularly when it comes to concrete. But I guess we've been here looking at this dam wall for such a long time, and it's served the community for over 100 years. So, you know, it'd be remiss of me not to thank it for its efforts to date, and now obviously it's hand over to Big Brother. And every now and then someone will pull up a really old photo of how the old dam wall was built. I mean, I got one last week from Brett McNamara of the Parks Conservation Service that showed sort of mid-construction what the dam wall looked like. And I thought to myself, not much has really progressed in terms of the methodology. It looked very similar, the methods were very similar. It's just the technology that's changed and the smarts about how to do it. So there's a real synergy, I guess, between, or connection between the old dam wall and the new dam wall in that way. And obviously, given that we're in the centenary year, it's quite fitting as well that almost 100 years after the original dam wall was built, the new one is now built and will take over. It's nice for once to actually have the rain arrive when you want it to. So for the first time in a long time, the rain's actually arrived at a point in time when we're ready for it and we're ready to store and we're going to benefit from it. I think the community's always supported the project, so I don't think there's ever been any doubt as to the merits of the project or the benefits that it could convey to the community. But like every piece of major public infrastructure, we need to be accountable to the public and we need to be able to answer questions. But my personal view is the project's been executed very well under very trying circumstances. There's a lot of people on this project who are very personally invested in it. They've spent a lot of their time trying to make it right, and you know, people are working beyond the hours required of them just to make sure things get right. That's the sort of stuff that you can't really see, and it's very difficult to convey to people, and it's hard. And I guess it's when you think about stuff like that, that's the bit that makes it hard to swallow. Some of the criticism, for most of us, it's a source of great pride to say that we're working on the Cotter Dam project, and in fact, it's not just the people working on the project; it's their extended families. So I've got my husband or my wife works on the Cotter Dam project, or my son. So it's really quite personal for a lot of people, and again, I guess speaking on behalf of myself, I guess there's been many times where I've thought this is really quite hard. I wish I was doing something else. But it's that desire to finish something that you've started, and it's that sort of commitment that's really across the board. And if we didn't have it, it would have made it very hard to come out of those really difficult times. So the spirit's always been there.